Hello everybody, this is Mr. Navratil here. I'm going to be going over how to do the third part in our Autodesk Inventor series. And this part is called the rounded bracket, and you can see the drawing of it right here. As always, we're going to start off with the overall length, overall height, and overall depth, kind of like our big block of clay, and then we're going to take away the pieces that we don't need. In this case, the overall length isn't necessarily given to you in one dimension. We kind of have to determine it. And if we look at the distance between these two ridges, we can see it's 3.38. And we also know that the radius of these are 0.75. In other words, the center point here to the outermost edge is going to be 0.75. So if we take all three of those and add them together, we will get 4.88, and that is our overall length. And our overall height down here is actually given to us. So we're going to go back to Inventor and go ahead and make that. Starting a sketch, we're going to do it on our XY plane. And I'll use my rectangle tool starting at the origin, and then I will dimension the length as 4.88, and we'll zoom out a little bit and we will create the height at 1.75. So there's our length and our height. I'm all set. I can go ahead and extrude now. When I hit the extrude tool, it's automatically going to select that profile for us. And going back to the drawing, again, the depth and how much we have to extrude isn't necessarily given to you, but we can determine it by looking again at the radius. We know that from here to the center point is going to be 0.75, and the same goes for this distance. So if we add those two together, our full depth is going to be 1.5. So going back to Inventor, we'll hit 1.5. And there is our outermost block of clay. So we do have a choice now. We can choose to do the two holes on the top or start chipping away here at the sides. I think I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw on this side, and I'm simply going to take the rectangle tool and create a rectangle here, and I'm going to create a rectangle here. Using the dimension tool, I can tell the program that these two squares that we are chopping off need to be 0.75 each way. So essentially it is a square. I'm going to go ahead and do it with this side. It looks like they were constrained together, so the program is going to pop up and tell us that they are in fact the same, and that's fine. And then these two are also 0.75. So I'm all set. I'm ready to extrude. I'll finish the sketch, and I'll use the extrude tool, selecting both of those profiles at the same time. Instead of adding material, I am going to cut, though. Looks like it's already set to 1.5 for us. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. At this point, we're going to use a new tool you haven't used before, and it is used to round over corners. This can be used professionally, or if your design calls for any type of curves in it. Now, we could set up a sketch on this side and go ahead and draw two arcs and then use the extrude tool, but it's more work than we need to. The program has a tool for us to use already. I've made a sketch that I don't need, so I'm going to go over here and delete that. So on the top here we can see the fillet tool. If I click on it, it's going to pop up with one of its option windows, and it's going to ask what edges would you like to fillet, and we can actually go ahead and select all four at the same time. So I'm using my free orbit tool, and I'll select the other two. Now you notice the rounded parts aren't exactly where they need to be at the moment, and that's because we still need to set the radius. And from our drawing, we know that the radius is 0.75. So I'll go ahead and add that in and hit OK. So you can see we have our two rounded pieces now. Very easily done, a lot easier than using an arc or a circle tool to do an extrusion. The only thing left is actually to make the holes on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new sketch. I'm going to orientate this a little bit easier. There we go. And from here, we're just going to draw two circles. These don't need to be in any particular place. You're going to dimension them afterwards anyway. So I'll hit the dimension tool. Going back to our drawing, we can determine that the diameter of the circle is 0.5. They are 1.69 away from this edge, and they are 0.38 from this edge. So using those, I'll do these first. So it's 1.69, And the same goes for this one, 1.69. The circles themselves are going to be 0.5. And then finally, from the center point to the bottom here, it's going to do it for us. Let's try that again. Dimension from the center to the bottom. Going back to the drawing just to double check, it is 0.38. 0.38. So I'll go ahead and type that in. And then finally, the top one, 0.38. So now that we have them completely centered where we'd like, we can go ahead and finish the sketch. These holes that go from the top actually go all the way to the bottom, and you can tell that by this side view. So I'll go back to Inventor and I'll hit the extrude tool, selecting both of those circles. And we want to go ahead and cut. 1.5 is not our height, it's actually 1.75, so I'll change that. I'll hit OK, and there you have it, our rounded bracket. Thanks for watching.